There is a pattern that shapes the destiny of every person. A pattern so subtle, so quiet, so ordinary that most people never notice it shaping their future. It doesn't show up in their bank account, it doesn't show up in their resume, it doesn't show up in their grades, their salary, or their social status. It reveals itself only in one place: their weekends. What you do on Saturday and Sunday determines who you become far more than what you do Monday through Friday. Your weekends are the purest expression of your identity because they are the only days when nobody tells you where to be, what to do, or how to behave. Your weekends are self-selected choices. They reveal your discipline, your mindset, your emotional patterns, your habits, your priorities, and ultimately your future. And when you zoom in on that truth, you begin to see why poor people stay poor, why the middle class stays stuck, and why the wealthy continue to rise year after year. Because the difference between the poor and the rich is not just money, it is how they use their free time. Poor people see weekends as an escape. Rich people see weekends as an investment. Poor people crave relief. Rich people crave progress. Poor people use weekends to disconnect from the life they built. Rich people use weekends to reinforce the life they're building. These differences appear small in the moment, but over years they compound into completely different realities. Poor people waste weekends without even realizing the cost. Rich people shape weekends with intention because they understand the value of every hour. Poor people treat weekends as a reward for surviving the week. They treat Saturday as a buffer to sleep excessively, avoid responsibilities, delay decisions, numb emotions, indulge in entertainment, or drown themselves in social distractions. They drift through the day reacting to impulses, eating whatever, spending whatever, watching whatever, doing whatever feels good in the moment. Their weekends become a carousel of pleasure, comfort, numbing, and avoidance. These habits feel harmless, but they sabotage future potential because weekends are nearly 30% of your year. Wasting weekends means wasting a third of your life, and if a third of your life is wasted, your dreams die quietly long before you even notice. Rich people, on the other hand, see weekends as strategic leverage. They rest, but they rest intentionally. They recover with purpose. They use weekends to sharpen skills, deepen knowledge, study patterns, refine their environment, nurture high-level relationships, plan strategically, and align their long-term vision. They don't waste weekends because they understand that there are only two kinds of time: time that compounds toward your future and time that decays your future. The wealthy choose compounding. Poor people drown themselves in entertainment, binge watching, endless scrolling, video games, gossip, drinking, smoking, partying, overdosing on dopamine until their brain becomes numb. They confuse stimulation with joy, distraction with meaning, and indulgence with emotional relief. Entertainment becomes a drug, and weekends become the dosage. The problem is not entertainment itself, the problem is the frequency. Entertainment becomes a lifestyle, a habit, a pattern, and habits repeated weekly become destiny written silently. Rich people use entertainment sparingly and intentionally. They enjoy life, but they don't escape into it. They don't use entertainment to numb or avoid responsibility. They use it to replenish energy strategically. A movie, a dinner, a meaningful conversation, a shared experience. They fuel their mind instead of sedating it. They recover, but don't disconnect from their mission. They know that rest is part of the process, not an excuse to stop the process. Another major difference is that poor people waste money on weekends. They eat out constantly, buy unnecessary things, spend impulsively, party expensively, chase the feeling of luxury rather than building real security. They blow money to feel rich for a moment instead of becoming rich for a lifetime. Poor people's weekends destroy their budgets because they emotionally spend instead of strategically manage. Their wallets reflect their impulses, not their intentions. The wealthy use weekends to tune their finances. They review budgets, analyze investments, think about opportunity, measure progress, adjust their plan, and study markets. They know that wealth isn't built during a paycheck. Wealth is built during reflection, clarity, planning, and execution. They protect their financial environment even on weekends. Because discipline 7 days a week produces freedom 7 days a week. Discipline 5 days a week produces stress the other 2. Poor people socialize with people who drain them. Friends who keep them stuck in the same conversations, the same habits, the same mental loops. They gather with complainers, gossipers, drinkers, people who sabotage their progress by reinforcing comfort over growth. They surround themselves with people who mirror their limitations. They choose familiarity even when familiarity is suffocating their future. Rich people socialize with intention. They spend weekends with people who inspire, challenge, uplift, and expand their mindset. Mentors, entrepreneurs, dreamers, strategists. They value proximity to ambition. They choose relationships that build their future, not relationships that drain it. They know that the people you spend weekends with determine the conversations you have, the ideas you explore, the beliefs you strengthen, and the habits you adopt. Your circle shapes your future more than your job does. Poor people are reactive on weekends. Rich people are reflective. Poor people run toward distraction. Rich people run toward clarity. Poor people fill silence with noise. Rich people create silence so they can think deeply. Poor people avoid introspection. Rich people seek introspection. Poor people don't want to face themselves. Rich people confront themselves. It's not that wealthy people are smarter. They're just braver about facing the truth. And facing the truth is the beginning of transformation. Poor people drift through weekends with no direction. They don't plan. They don't schedule. They don't create goals. They don't prioritize tasks. They let time happen to them instead of shaping time. Wealthy people treat weekends like open strategy sessions. They review the past week, what worked, what didn't, what needs adjusting. They plan the upcoming week, goals, priorities, habits, opportunities, leverage points. They do weekly resets, weekly reflections, weekly calibrations. They use weekends to reset their trajectory so they never fall behind. This practice alone can change entire lives. Poor people think weekends are for pleasure. Rich people think weekends are for positioning. Poor people live for Friday night. Rich people live for the next decade. Poor people treat weekends as a break from reality. Rich people treat weekends as rehearsal for their future reality. One of the most profound differences is how each group handles energy. Poor people collapse into weekends like they are running from a burning building. They are exhausted, drained, depleted because their weekdays consume them. They use weekends to recover from a weak system. Rich people enter weekends with energy because they design weekdays that don't destroy them. Rich people don't need to escape from life. They are building a life worth living. Poor people rely on the weekend for happiness. Rich people rely on purpose for happiness. Poor people feel empty without constant stimulation. Rich people feel empty without progress. Poor people live for the moment. Rich people live for the mission. Poor people ask, how can I relax this weekend? Rich people ask, how can I build this weekend? Let's go even deeper. Poor people use weekends for short-term pleasure. Rich people use weekends for long-term identity. Poor people create rituals that lower their standards. Rich people create rituals that elevate their standards. Poor people escape into the present. Rich people invest into the future. Poor people do not understand the compounding effect of weekends. They don't realize that 2 days a week equals 104 days a year. That's 3.5 months of time every single year. If you waste your weekends, you waste a third of your life. If you use your weekends, you accelerate your life faster than you ever imagined. Poor people waste their 104 days. Rich people build on their 104 days. Poor people lose momentum every weekend. Rich people gain momentum every weekend. Poor people break routines every Saturday. Rich people strengthen routines every Saturday. Poor people erase progress every Sunday. Rich people build advantage every Sunday. And here's the harshest truth of all. You cannot outwork the destruction of wasted weekends. You can work hard all week, but if you undo everything on Saturday and Sunday, you will stay stuck forever. Progress is not built in massive bursts. It is built in consistent behavior. Weekends separate the wishers from the builders, the people who want a better life from the people who are creating one. Poor people use weekends to escape the life they have. Rich people use weekends to create the life they want. And the moment you shift the way you use your weekends, you shift the trajectory of your life. If you want a different future, start with Saturday. If you want a different identity, start with Sunday. If you want the habits of the wealthy, start with those 2 days everyone else wastes. Because the truth is simple. Wealthy people aren't lucky, they're consistent. They use the time others throw away, they multiply hours others kill. They build while others waste. Your future is not determined by how you work during the week. It is determined by how you live when nobody is watching.